Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Leo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of May. I hope you're well. Using the Crow Tarot for you today. There will be an extended at the end of this reading if what comes out resonates with you. So if you're interested in that, the link will be down in the description box. You can check it out down there. So, lovely Leos, let's have a look and see what May holds for you, please. Could I have 3 cards for Leo? Thank you. 8 of Swords in your recent past. I hear that. How about present energy for Leo, please? Ooh. We've got 2 that have wandered out together and they're absolutely glorious. We had the 6 of Wands, which is a Leo card, and the Page of Wands, which is nice. And then what is coming towards Leo for May, please? We have the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. That's an interesting card. Right. We have the World at the bottom of the deck. And I don't know about you, but I think that we're well ready for this. Like, I'm a Leo, and April has to have been one of the most frustrating months that I've experienced so far this year. I think probably January was worse, to be honest. Right, we're going to use the Wild Unknown to clarify. Give these a quick shuffle too. So, tell me about the 8 of Swords, please. Thank you. We have the 3 of Cups and we have the Ace of Wands. Tell me about the 6 of Wands and the Page. Thank you. We have the 9 of Pentacles and the Father of Swords. I'm going to pull one more for that because we've got 2 there in the current energy. I know I'm not taking all of those. There's hundreds of them. Right, let's pop those back in. Just one more, please. Thank you. We have the 2 of Pentacles, okay. Tell me about the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. I've got the Wheel of Fortune, and what was that first card? The 4 of Pentacles. Interesting. I've got the 9 of Swords at the bottom of the deck, followed by the Page of Cups and the High Priestess. This is quite interesting. This is all about anxiety, right? It's worrying. And for you, Leo, I do think it's been worrying about the future because there are things that you've been trying to instigate. And it's almost like at every turn, it doesn't matter which way you've gone, you kind of hit a brick wall with things. And this rising sense of frustration that's been coming out is kind of having its expression for you in a feeling of kind of powerlessness, which is not something that a Leo enjoys at all, right? So definitely concerned about that. However, with these 2 cards underneath, it feels like there's been some sort of lesson that come out that way actually here in, dare I say it, patience, acceptance, trusting the process, knowing that there is something coming in, you know. I've harked back to it before, but the one thing that I remember about the 6-month overview for Leo was this I can't even remember if it was a theme or whether it was just something that came out really strongly. I think it might have been a theme for the entire reading. It was about the eradication of self-doubt. It was really, really important that over this 6-month process, by whatever means necessary and however it you know, manifests itself for you, you need to be absolutely certain of who you are and absolutely certain in everything that you do. And second guessing yourself and doubting yourself were 2 really damaging things that you should try and kind of move away from altogether. So we have here, you know, this trusting maybe of your higher self, maybe of spirit source, you know, the universe, God, however you see it, right? But kind of acting as a channel, letting everything just kind of work out the way that it is, and being intuitively led. I think part of what's been so frustrating for Leos is that we have thought every single time that we were going down a route that we were being intuitively led down, and we've come up against a brick wall, and it's been incredibly frustrating. I think perhaps what was missing from the equation, what has been missing from the equation, has been that patience. Letting things build, letting things play out in the way that they needed to. So the first card that you've got in your recent past is that 8 of Swords. It is that feeling of disempowerment. It is that feeling of being trapped and thwarted, actually. Like no matter which way you turn, no matter which direction you try and, you know, gallop off in, always come back to this. And the important thing for you, I think, has been this really important lesson in not internalizing this energy, not making it about being, not making it about a lack of power or a lack of intuition, a lack of anything in you, just acceptance of things being as they are for now, you know. I spoke in the weekly reading about, what did I speak about? Using this time to do the groundwork, and it was interesting because it actually echoed what had come out in the mid-months. Like everything was going to happen when it was ready and not a second before, and the time that you had now had actually been gifted to you to do the groundwork, to make sure that when you were ready to move finally, there was nothing going to act as an impediment, and there was nothing that was going to, you know, kind of surprisingly broadside you in some way or another. And the cards that we've got to clarify here are the Three of Cups and the Ace of Wands, and I love the fact that the colours are really similar on both of those cards. They're going off in different directions. But it really does seem like part of what has helped you navigate this Eight of Swords energy is kind of leaning on other people. And these are other people that you trust, which is interesting because I don't think that there are a great deal of those people out there for you, Leo. Whether through, you know, slightly bitter experience when you've realised that some people aren't, you know, what you hoped they were, or even just this kind of feeling that nobody really reciprocates quite on the same level that you give. Well, you know, that's okay. But nevertheless, over the last year, there's been a kind of filtering out of your social circle, and those that remain, or those in fact that came in towards the back end of last year, are really now starting to prove their worth to you. And you know, with things being the way they are at the moment, these may not be people that you have met in real life, but certainly they are dependable. You know, they are there with good advice for you when you need it, and more importantly, they don't let you fall into this trap of doubting yourself. You know, I feel like there's a level of objectivity with all of them as well. Like they mentioned before, this whole notion of your social circle kind of thinning out. And I saw it happen over the course of last year for Leos. It happened for a few signs actually, but very prominently for Leos. But then what had been this void where there weren't really any people, suddenly you've got these extraordinary people that have come in, and that just seem to have, you know, it's almost coincidence, except that it's not coincidence. You know, they came towards you when it was time, and they really are, in their quiet way, doing so much more for you than the group of friends that you had before. They get you, you know, and more than that, they're on a level with you, which is nice. Tell me about this Three of Cups. And there's something about the friendship, and perhaps the way that you can speak to them, the way that you can kind of turn to them for emotional, you know, using them as sounding boards and stuff like that, that is really allowing you to process things that need to be left behind now, things that are stopping you from moving forwards. And in fact, yeah, there's such reciprocity here. We've got the Eight of Cups, we've got the Six of Pentacles, and we've got the Page of Swords. It really does feel like your tribe, Leo. And not only are they helping you balance out yourself, like this reciprocal energy that you are experiencing is quite new for you. You know, maybe you're used to being, you know, the wise go-to person in your social groups. I mean, most Leos are. I mean, it's what happens. But we've often found that, you know, when it comes our turn, there is nobody there, and so we just rely on ourselves. It's what we do, you know. But this seems much more on a level with you, the kind of support that actually you need, even if you hadn't really gone out looking for it. And with this Page of Swords, you know, there are things that you have learned from these people, which has been incredibly useful for you moving forwards, because the other card that's come out here, like I said, is the Ace of Wands. Now, That is an ace that I like to see for fire signs because it's fire element, obviously. But it talks about creativity, it talks about passion, it talks about the new, right? And for you, I think it's, like I said, not allowing yourself to fall into this kind of self-doubt and stuff like that. You know, where you would spend that energy possibly feeling a bit sorry for yourself, but certainly feeling frustrated and unable to shift things the way that you want. It's kind of caused you to maybe step back and reassess and come up with something creative and brilliant that you might not have had the emotional or intellectual space to do so had they not been there. Hello, what are you? Just jumped out there. Yeah, we've got the Empress, which is rather beautiful because it is also about new starts here. Yeah, there's something quite profound going on here, Leo. Because we've got the Empress, we've got the Knight of Swords, and we've got the World. There's something about this is really catalysing this ending that we see also here. Oh, I actually got it there. Oh, good Lord, look at that. Right. So at the bottom of the deck, you had the World. You also had the Six of Swords, and you have the Ace of Wands, right? And moving from an ending towards this new beginning, and it's the same beginning. It's the Ace of Wands. It is creative potential for sure, but it's about that reinvigoration, right? It's about you re-engaging with things on a level that is suitable for you, Leo, and that you would struggle with if you were kind of sliding into that well of despond that we all know so well, right? So with the Empress, which is Taurus or Libra energy, you know, it could be that you've got Taurus, Libra, or Gemini, in fact, who is forming part of this group here. But I can't help but feel like you are emotionally nurtured, but also in some ways kind of intellectually challenged by this. But whatever it is, it's helping you bring things to completion in the way that they need to go. You know, remember that everything comes back to you in the end, Leo. And so while, you know, external circumstances might be quite frustrating, if things aren't progressing, then it's because there's stuff to be dealt with in the here and now. And I think that that's what you've got a handle on there. That's what you've understood. And so where you were well, you probably still are a little bit frustrated, but it seems to have stepped down a little bit in favour of actually re-engaging with what is in front of you to bring all of these things into towards completion. It's tidying up the messy ends. And do you know what? You are not the only sign that is having that energy surrounding them at the moment. I think you're number 6, sign number 6 that I've read for, and almost every other sign has had this same thing, right? You need to tidy up before you can move on. And I think possibly because you've had your eye on the big picture and where you're going, you know, and Leos certainly have had this sense of something really, really big that they need to be involved with, that you've almost taken your eye off what's going on here. And as it happens, you just would not be able to shift in the way that you want to, in whatever way that applies, because you haven't tied it up enough here, right? It seems to me like you've kind of got this now, and kudos to your friends for being a part of helping you see that. So we move to your current energy, and this is altogether different because we have the Six of Wands and the Page of Wands together. That's amazing, right? So not only do we have a court card here, who is brandishing the ace that we have seen twice for you, but we also have 6 of them here. This is a card of victory. It is also the card of Leo, but it is a card of public conspicuous victory, right? Now, I'm not saying necessarily that this is going to make all the newspapers and stuff like that. That's not really what I'm saying, but it's not just a personal victory for you. It is one that your friends will see and be absolutely delighted and overjoyed about, right? And it is the start of something new. Note that it isn't quite yet the movement. It's almost like the Page of Wands for me is the precursor to movement. It's when you kind of get the news that you can do something and you get excited about it, but you can't quite do it yet, right? It's that excitement stage with things. The Six of Wands coming before it is quite interesting because this is movement and this is not quite yet movement. So what you're celebrating is the possibility of movement, where it's now open to you. as it wasn't before, which is cool. You know, and I really do feel like there'll be a lot of celebration and great support around the fact that this route is now open for you, because everybody's going to get exactly why it's so important for you. So the cards that we have to clarify that, interestingly, are the Nine of Pentacles, the King of Swords, and the Two of Pentacles. Now, the Nine of Pentacles is all about independence, self-sufficiency, and I think that this is something that you've been hankering for in whatever way that applies to you, Leo. So for some of you, it might have been about the fact that you want to move home. For some of you, it might be about the fact that, you know, you might be saving for a deposit for a house or something like that, right? Maybe it's moving out of a parent's house. Maybe it's... it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it's about the removal of the blockages that are stopping you moving forwards. Now, this is really, really important because you are independent, Leo, right? Almost to a fault. But what's going on here is something quite subtle, something quite nuanced, and it's kind of flying below the radar here. Like, the Nine of Pentacles is a card that I see quite often for Leos, right? It's never really a surprise when it comes up. But there are some ways in which what comes next for you, you know, what it is, your big picture thing, whatever you've been working towards, isn't quite motivated by what you thought it was. Now, this is not criticism in any way, but I don't want to go into too much. I was going to give you a really, really personal example, but I'm not going to do that. And it's been the restriction that's given you the space to really contemplate what this is, because it does feel like there's been something really quite profound that has appeared for you, ready to be healed, right? At this point in our journey, Leo, it's like whatever it is buried very, very fucking deep, because we've done an awful lot of inner work anyway. But it's kind of come up, bubbled up to the surface, and maybe it's kind of hit some of you a bit sideways, you know. But it does feel like there have been an awful lot of insights and maybe full-on epiphanies about why you've been charging so headlong towards this. It doesn't take away from the fact that it's a good thing. Whatever you want is a good thing, but it's making you examine something that's sort of come up sideways associated with it, so that you can heal it, so that you can let it go, right? We've got the Father of Swords, which is the King of Swords, and that could be to do with legal stoppages and legal issues. You know, we see the Father of Swords as a judge or a lawyer or sometimes a doctor or an accountant, right? It's the professions. It's very intellectual. But and it's also the card of Aquarius, I should mention. But that doesn't feel necessarily relevant here because like I was saying, it's like something's come up to do with your independence that is showing you something that needed healing somewhere else, right? I can see the example very clearly in my own personal experience. And it's perhaps something that you were kind of vaguely aware of, but you'd never really sat down and took the time to address. Really, really thought very hard and very clearly about this. And I do feel like this is what you've done, and it's almost like the results they're not instantaneous, right? Because if they happened when we actually wanted them to happen, they'd have happened like 6 weeks ago. But certainly it's like the way is starting to clear. And to a degree, it feels a little bit like you getting out of your own way, right? I can't really shake this feeling that I've got here. Now, probably isn't going to be a tangible example of you being deliberately obstructive of yourself, right? Because what we're talking about here is like I said, something kind of ephemeral and nuanced and kind of soul-based rather than practical. Although it might have its expression in the practical world, you know, in the 3D world, it's something very deeply rooted. And it might even just be the fact that you have found it difficult to be patient, and you have found it difficult to allow things to open up the way that they are intended to do, that you found it difficult to sit still while you were waiting for this to happen. You know, this could well be what has been shown to you right? That's the way in which you might have accidentally obstructed yourself. But with the Two of Pentacles here, there's something much more solid now about the way that you are approaching it. It's much more kind of centered and ordered. And I like it. You know, we've got all of these rainbows here on this sword that the King of Swords is holding there, and we see them carried across in this lemniscate, this infinity sign here, in which the two pentacles are sitting. Now, the twos are always about the internal space for me, right? So this is about balancing out what is going on with you. And it is tempered with logic rather than emotion, which means there's been some sort of bringing to consciousness of something that was previously unconscious or subconscious for you, right? I really like it. It feels very grounded and it feels very centered. And sometimes when Leos are feeling impotent or frustrated or disempowered in any way, like, it can be hard work. You know, we find ourselves hard work when we're in that kind of state, you know. But this new centered, grounded energy, it's almost like a resurgence of patience, right? And there's the Page of Wands. Here's the success with the movement that is about to happen. It is now, the potential is now presented. Well, it's even more than that, to be honest, because we've got that Ace of Wands there. We've got that Ace of, there's the potential. And we've always been able to see the potential. What we now have is a court card who is prepared to take that ace and move with it for us, right? So what you have coming towards you in May is somewhat perplexing, because we have the Three of Pentacles in reverse, followed by the Four of Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune, which is a very interesting combination indeed. The Three of Pentacles talks about teamwork and cooperation, collaboration. It talks about building things. But it's come up in the reverse. So this is doing something alone. But it's followed by the Four of Pentacles, which is talking about, you know, possibly a need to release, a need to let go of things. But what I've just heard is a releasing of the need to do it all by yourself, Leo. Which is really, really interesting. I'm noticing here that this Four of Pentacles, you can see how all those pentacles kind of interlinked there. What starts with you here, we've got those pentacles kind of held together by the lemniscate, right? And we've got something being woven up here. Leo, I think part of the realization that you've had is that this insistence of doing it by yourself, whilst laudable, whilst admirable, is actually coming from a place of trauma. It's coming from a place of wounding. Now, perhaps what it is that you've realized is that the need to do it by yourself was perhaps had an element of theatre to it, so that other people could see that you were doing it for yourself, and you were therefore proving yourself to be a valid and worthy and respectable and decent human being by doing this, you know. Maybe it is that you wanted to make sure that nobody could take credit for what you have worked so very hard to bring about for yourself. That's possible too. And maybe it's because it's showing you a pattern. You know, to be a Leo is to have necessarily an element of achievement attached to it, you know. And when you've worked very, very, very hard to do something, and people come in and they try and take credit, or they tell you that you only could do that because of them, right? It warps the way that you approach new things, because you're like, I've got to prove to them that I can do it myself. I know I can do it myself, but I need to absolutely leave not a shadow of a doubt that I have done it myself, right? That has to be done because it's important. And I wonder if you've been wandering so far down that road, Leo, that you've actually turned your back on the possibility of building with others, the possibility of working with others, because you felt like it in some way diluted your achievement. There's no criticism here from me in this at all. I think that this is entirely to be expected. I've done a lot of personal readings for Leos, and obviously I am a Leo, Leo stellium, and I've done a lot of these general readings for Leos too, and as a sign, almost, you know, that we've been completely traumatized, particularly since 2017. You know, that, you know, if there wasn't really any trauma before, and there was, like there just was, what happened from 2017 was that complete deconstruction of Leo, right? And that's all to do with what was the past woundings and the past hurts. You know, you've worked so hard in the last 3.5 years to put yourself where you are, that there's a certain terror associated now with allowing anybody else to do anything, because somebody might take credit for it, because somebody might use it as a way to dismiss your contribution to it, because it might make you feel less than, you know, in the eyes of somebody else. The important thing here, Leo, is that that kind of judgment from people says more about them than it ever does about you, you know? And it is possible that what really opens up for you is a reflection of your ability to open up to the possibility of somebody else coming in and assisting you in the way that they want to. Now, this could be a partner, it could be a family friend, a family member, it could be a friend, it doesn't really matter. It's the principle of the thing that seems to be at play here for you, Leo, and understanding that is absolutely critical to your success moving forwards, you know? And some people might say mistakenly that this is just Leo pride, when they haven't got a fucking clue, frankly, if that's what they think. because it's not pride for pride's sake. It really isn't. It is you know, I had an ex who once described me as psychopathically independent, and I was like, yes. Why is that even weird? Why is that a surprise? Of course I'm psychopathically independent. I will not accept help from anybody, and I will not ask for help for anybody, because ultimately, in those times where I thought I was working with someone in the past to achieve something, and then latterly when I worked to achieve something on my own, you know, people came in and tried to make me feel inferior or small or not very smart or incapable in some sort of way, just not as good as them, you know. And perhaps what you've realized is that there are echoes of that still rattling around in you, Leo, and it's time to let those go, because that judgment, like I said, is more about them, right? The way in which you become bomb-proof, the way in which you become so fucking resilient that there is no doubt in your mind that you're doing the right thing, is by losing any kind of reference to the judgment of others. If you are doing things for how it looks to other people, or you are refusing help because you don't want anybody to try and diminish your part in it, then you're coming from the wrong place. That is a place of trauma, and that is absolutely something that needs healing. Now, the fact that we've got the Wheel of Fortune here is really, really interesting, because that is my card of, you know, a teaching moment, learning something really, really profound. And for you, Leo, this actually does feel like it's really, really profound. There are other signs that work much more easily with people, and they have no issue asking for help and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm sure we've all kind of looked at them and gone, well, that's fine, but it doesn't work for me. Right, it does not work for me. And this is why. This is why, Leo, right? Look at that card. It's kind of messy inside, which is kind of how I feel we Leos are, a little bit. But it's nonetheless it's nonetheless beautiful. Look at it. It's absolutely stunning. And part of what this is here is an unraveling of that which has been a bit knotty and tight, right? and getting it running around these pulleys almost. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like pulleys. Now obviously it's kind of not, because it's not going anywhere, but the whole point of a pulley is that, you know, you put it in and you halve the weight, you halve the work, you know. There's no sense in you struggling for struggling's sake, Leo. If you can put in a pulley, which is another person or maybe a group of people who can help you halve the weight, quarter the weight, think of how much more you could achieve if you eradicated the struggle element from this, you know? Because the thing is, I don't think that you would ever want to take credit away from somebody that had helped you. That's not what you do. You would always give full credit. But it's other people looking in. You know? Now, if you completely ignored them, if you completely fucked off that opinion altogether, what you've got there is a beautiful situation where there are pulleys being put in place. You are working in tandem with someone else. And you're achieving amazing things because you're freeing up a lot of mental space, a lot of emotional space for you to truly embody what it is to be the Ace of Wands. Leo, this is cool as fuck. Tell me about this. Oh man, Ralph. Fucking okay. So we've got the Star and we've got the Justice card, right? Cards of Aquarius and Libra, respectively. Air signs. That message is clear as a fucking bell, right? Wheel of Fortune and Justice together in a reading is big fucking karma, right? It's consequences. Now, the way that you approach everything are the consequences of the way that you have been mistreated over your life, right? And it's very subtle and it runs very deep. And sometimes the thought of allowing other people in to kind of help with stuff will fill you with panic, right? Now, this is about stopping and examining exactly why that is happening. Why does that happen, right? Don't give me any shit about it. Don't give me any mental gymnastics, right? Because I'm a Leo and I know exactly what mental gymnastics you've gone through to get to the conclusion that you have, right? It's all about trauma. It's all about wounding. This is how you heal. This is how you change the nature of what it is that you are trying to achieve, right? This is how you extrapolate it up. You get the pulley system in, right? And suddenly the hard work is not hard anymore. Who was the dude? I cannot even remember his name. The dude who pulled the ship to shore using pulleys, right? First person to invent pulleys, and he just pulled the ship by himself to shore, and everybody was like, holy shit, what is this voodoo, right? Not voodoo, physics, beautiful. Same goes emotionally, right? You've got so much potential. You've got so much power, Leo. Let people help. Let people in. Understand where this is coming from, because then you can heal it. Then you can let it go, right? And then what you can produce is extrapolated up by an order of magnitude that I don't think that you even perceive yet, because these are huge lessons for you. This is a really big month, Leo, for letting go of an awful lot of things. Another ace, letting... And this one's all about acceptance for me. It's all about forgiveness for yourself. It's all about compassion, you know. Got the Nine of Swords at the bottom of the deck. You don't need to struggle, Leo. It doesn't need to happen. And when you understand why you willingly almost make yourself struggle, you can stop doing it. Yeah, look, we've got the Devil card there underneath the Nine of Swords. Be in no doubt that this is something that needs healing in you, right? Because it's a wound. I actually think this reading's glorious. I really do. And this is how you get out of your own way. I love this. Right. If this has resonated with you, like I said, there's an extended. We're going to go and pull this apart a little bit more. over there, and certainly with a view to what is happening in May specifically. If not, that's all cool, not a problem. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.